Okay, so this again is a lecture that I've broken into two parts because it's a long lecture. This is a really important lecture on paragraphs. I tend to find that most students, including my students who are in my literature classes, which means they've gone through Comp 1 and Comp 2, don't do as good a job as they can with paragraphs. And it's the simplest way to make for much better writing. If you've got strong paragraphs, once you can lay those out logically in a coherent manner so it makes sense, A is going to B, B to C, you're writing really well. So in all my classes, I give this paragraph lecture, Comp 1, Comp 2, and my literature classes to try to help people quickly get much better with their writing. So paragraphs are guideposts, and this is why they're very important. They help the reader because they help the reader know when the topic is changing. That's the main reason for a paragraph. Whenever you change a topic, you need to go to a new paragraph. They help with the flow of the work because they break things up into little units, and then you can, absorb some and then go on to the next. Normally, contain a single topic. For this uh, class, I would like them to only contain a single topic, and that should be reflected in the topic sentence, which many times is the first sentence. And they can also break up complex thought processes. So this is why really good writers do a much better job explaining complex issues than somebody who is not that great a writer. Because what the really good writer will do is give you the simplest concepts first and slowly use those to build to the more complex issues. So it's kind of like the way you were taught math, right? We didn't give you polynomial right away or quadratic equations. We taught you addition, then subtraction, then multiplication, and then division. So even there, you're going from the simplest to the more complex. And then we combine those to give you polynomials and finally quadratic equations. So the same thing you can do with an essay or with any. All right, now you want to focus on one idea. This is huge. So one of the things you do not want to see on your paper is that I've highlighted a paragraph and and then next to it put unity. It means it's not unified. You've got more than one idea in there usually. All right. Normally, your topic sentence is the one idea. And again, as I said, it normally is, I would say in 90 to 95% of paragraphs, it's the first sentence is your topic sentence, the first sentence of the paragraph. All right. And you don't get sidetracked. Uh, so you don't go off onto related ideas that really don't support the topic sentence. So let's say you were writing a paper on uh, obesity and you were talking about our childhood obesity, and you're talking about how fast food contributes to that. If within that paragraph where you're talking about how fast food contributes to obesity, you start talking about, well, it's understandable about why children are eating more fast food now than they did before, because both the mother and the father are normally working 40 hours or more a week, unlike in the 1950s where usually only the father worked and the mother stayed home and she had all day to prepare dinner and other meals. You've gotten off track though. You're no longer talking about how fast food contributes to childhood obesity. You're talking about how the fast food gets into the house. That needs to be a separate paragraph and probably after the one about the contributing factors. All right. Now you want all sentences to relate to that one idea. So this again is where you may see me mark a short little section of your essay and say unity. It means those sentences aren't really supporting the paragraph. So one of the things you do in revision is to make sure that all your sentences support your topic sentence. So here's a really good example of this. Almost all living creatures manage some form of communication. That's our topic sentence about living creatures and how they communicate. The dance patterns of bees in their hive help to point to the way to distant flower fields are now successful foraging. That's how they communicate. Male stickleback fish regularly swim upside down to indicate an outrage in a courtship contest. That's how the fish communicate. Male deer and lemurs mark territorial ownership by rubbing their own body secretions on boundaries, stones, or trees. That's how they communicate. And we too, being humans, We use gestures, expressions, postures, and movement to give our words points. So that's how humans communicate. So every single sentence in this paragraph talks about some creature and how that creature communicates. Now, what I really like about this paragraph, and I'm sure that Miss Olivia Vlahos did not write it this way the first time, maybe not even the second or third time, but what she's done is look at the coherence. We go from bees, which are insects and are not a very complex being, to male stickleback fish, which are a more complex form of life, to male deer and lemurs, which are mammals, which are the most complex of life forms on the planet, to humans, who are the most complex of the mammals. So she's going from the simplest to the most complex. So not only is everything unified, everything is coherent. It makes a lot of sense. It's a beautifully written paragraph, even though I don't care about the topic so much. The use of unity and coherence is really well done. And this is what you want to work with in your own paragraphs. If you start writing paragraphs like this, if you decide you want to go and make a living as a freelance writer, you're probably in good shape. Now, your topic sentence states the main idea for the paragraph. So what it is, it's like a mini thesis for the paragraph. So your thesis states the main claim for your essay, and your topic sentence states the main claim for your paragraph, right? Now, every sentence has to relate to that main idea in the paragraph. So it's the same way that every paragraph has to relate and support your thesis. Every sentence in a paragraph has to relate and support the topic sentence. Now, it may not always be the first sentence. Uh, it can go anywhere you want, but just like your thesis, if you're not going to put it in the place where it would normally go, you have to have a reason. Don't just let it haphazardly happen. So I've seen topic sentences in the middle of a paragraph. It didn't quite make sense to me, but I understood what the writer was trying to do. Sometimes, and this is more often the case, it will be the last sentence because what you're doing is kind of building suspense and making the reader wonder, well, man, where are we going with this paragraph? And boom. So it's kind of like an aha moment at the end, and that tends to be the most useful or the most effective use of a topic sentence being elsewhere than in the first sentence. Okay. Now, unity and coherence I've already kind of talked about. Unity is that all the sentences support the topic sentence. You want to make sure that everything is related to that topic sentence and gives support to that topic sentence so you don't get sidetracked off to some other idea. This tends to be my biggest comment on people's paragraphs is that it's gotten sidetracked, that you have two, sometimes three and four. I've had people write these page-long paragraphs that have development of a paragraph. So normally in an on-ground class, this is where I ask, how many of you have been taught to write 5 to 7 sentence paragraphs, and all these hands go up. That's perfectly fine when you're first being taught to write. However, you should by college you should be beyond that point, and so the reason for the 5 to 7 is it ensures that you have enough support for your topic sentence, but not so much that you can get sidetracked. It tries to, keep you restricted there. And it's a good tool to teach you the writing. But now you're in college, you need to write a paragraph that needs to be as long as necessary. We're going to look at an essay in the and it only can happen in a narration essay, where Langston Hughes has a one sentence paragraph. So I go up. It's 4 words. I mean, it's a short, and it's an incredibly short sentence, and it's this entire paragraph. That's narration. You really can't have one in other types of essays, a one sentence paragraph. You need to have at least two. You need to have a topic sentence and a really, 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 really good supporting sentence if there's only one supporting sentence. All right, but as long as you need. All right, so there's no set length. All right, what you need to do is make sure you have enough support. All right, as long as you have enough support. Now, I've had people write a lot of paragraphs that are 2 to 3 sentences, and they lose points because there wasn't enough support. You can write a 2 to 3 sentence paragraph, but like I said, those sentences that are supporting sentences had better be damn good for you to get away with that. Normally, you do need 4 or 5, maybe 6 sentences to have enough support. But again, you should be at a point in your writing now. You should be getting to the point that you can determine how long your paragraph needs to. All right, the other thing you want to ask, does it have enough details? And that's how you develop the main idea with details. Sorry, I went a little fast on that. The effective methods of development are just like all the essays that are in our book. You can write a narrative, a little story. You can write a description, definition. You can just give examples. You're illustrating a point with examples. Division and classification, which breaks apart a group. Comparison and contrast, analogy, cause and effect, process, problem, and solution. In fact, if I was allowed to use my own book for this class, the book I would use is a textbook written by two women at Stanford, really, really good professors who put out great textbooks. They put out a number of them. But the one I'd use for this class doesn't have any essays in it. It just has the different types of paragraphs. Because what you'll find is in the real world, you don't write just one type of uh, paper. You use different paragraphs to get your point across. And so there isn't just a cause and effect. You're not just writing a cause and effect. You may have a narrative in there. You may have some comparison as well, whatever you need. Anyway, so that's for that. All right, so that ends the first part of this. When you think you got this down, then go on to the next part.